I was like, is that him?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's just somebody that looks just like him. Yeah. So, anyway. Taken Bad Guys, MI2. Check it out.
Okay, so I want to talk about what I really liked about this movie. So I really like the first half of this movie when it's in like Spain and the Spanish music that's playing, you know, and the Spanish architecture. And I really wish that more of this movie would have taken place in that type of environment. You know, I liked what he did in the scene where Tom Cruise met that woman and like the flamenco dancers were like going through the screen and stuff. Like I like that stuff. And every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I like this. This is cool. And it's all the action stuff that really makes it fall apart for me. But, you know, I really want to address that beginning part. I really want to make sure that it's talked about here because that's what I really love about this movie. I really like the tone of the first half of the movie and how it goes. And I wanted to know, what did you guys think of that? Because it feels so different, the first half from the back half.
Well, I do think it's a great setup, and I think that one of the things which really works is the relationship between Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton. And I know that a lot of people sort of roll their eyes at that relationship, and I think that that's kind of weird. Because, yeah, I mean, there's some... It goes by quickly. Like, they fall in love very, very, very quickly. But, you know, once you get into it, I mean, I think the payoff with, like, the sacrifice that she makes, you know, in leading into the third act and everything is, like, really emotionally impactful and everything. And, you know, her performance is great. So, yeah, all of that stuff wouldn't have worked if it weren't for that first act, which is gorgeous, you know, what you're talking about with, like, the dancing and everything and the way that they sort of play with that and the, you know, call back to it in the next scene with the car chase and all that good stuff. It really works for me. Yeah, and the photography is gorgeous. Jeffrey Kimball, so great. So great. I mean, his work in Nemesis is like the best part of Nemesis, but not to mention like the stuff that he did.
Whoa, Goldsmith's the best part of Nemesis.
Maybe, yeah, okay. Well, they're both. It's neck and neck. But then, you know, I mean, Kimball, Top Gun and Wild Things in particular, I think he did a really great job with that movie. He's one of the best cinematographers out there, and I think that this is some of his best work.
Cool, right on. Well, I got nothing else that I want to add. Mike, is there any final comments you wanted to make on the film, and did you want to give it a rating?
Sure. I think that this movie's great. I definitely thought that it was better than the first one when it came out, and I would maintain that. And in a lot of ways, it's the reason why I get so excited about every single Mission Impossible movie when they come out. Like, they're always like my number one most anticipated movie of, you know, the summer or whatever season it is they're released. And a lot of it has to do with this one. Even if this one does not hold up as much as I would like, I still think it's great. And even if it's not the best of the franchise, I still think it's great. And I guess I would give it, how many stars are we doing?
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
5?
How many out of 5 missions to accept? How many times do you accept Mission Impossible 2?
I would accept this mission 4 times.
4 times.
Okay. 4 out of
Zach,
5.
did you have any final thoughts and rating for the film?
Yeah, you know, I did just want to mention that, you know, Ambrose here, right, Dunray Scott, I think he is actually a better mirror to Ethan Hunt than Lane is in Ghost Protocol. Not Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. They should just kept with the numbers, okay? Getting confused. Because they try to make, like, Lane like this, oh, he's like the dark, twisted side of you, Ethan. I'm like, not really. I think Dunray Scott more is Ambrose's character because I really liked, you know, one of the moments I really did like in the film was when him and Ethan and his team were talking about what their plan is to break in and get the Chimera. And then Ambrose and his team were talking about how they're going to break in to get the Chimera and how he knows how Hunt works because he's doubled Hunt before, so they established that, so they kind of have that pre-existing rivalry even though they haven't really, you know, fought each other before. So it shows how they're kind of like outthinking each other and anticipating each other's moves. And I thought that's really cool to see how like truly like we have Ethan Hunt over here and Ethan Hunt gone wrong over here. And so that's a nice touch, and it's something that I think is that kind of threat is lacking in a lot of the films, and we don't really get it again until Fallout, in my opinion, like a really great one guy for Ethan Hunt to go up against man to man. So those are my thoughts. Now this movie, you know, I did like it a lot more this time than I remember seeing it because I saw it once in a theater. I think I saw it once on TV since, but I just didn't like it, so I just never bothered to like sit down and revisit it. I would give this one. I'd accept this mission 2.5 times out of 5. Just right down the middle. It's for what it is. Self-contained. It's great. It just really feels. It's just really the odd duck in this Mission Impossible franchise. As we've seen, because they've kind of fallen back into a certain pattern now, especially worried about continuity and things like that. So it does stick out from the rest of the pack, but it's a fun watch. It's worth checking out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my final thoughts on this film. Like I said, this I wanted to give up on the franchise I did give up on the franchise after this movie, but I'm glad I enjoyed it a little bit more this time. There's some good stuff. I picked out some good things for it, but it's still my least favorite. I would also give it 2.5. Out of 5. That'll be my final ratings there. But Zach, you have one last question for us.
Well, 2 things, Brandon. Actually, there were 5 masks used in this movie. Can you tell me the 5 masks that were used in the film?
Oh, yes. So there's the first one with Ethan Hunt, but it's not the Ethan Hunt, it's the other guy. Which I gotta say, I love that. And the best addition that I'm grateful for this film is the voice box thing on their necks. Right, and I loved how they revealed it and whatnot. So there was that one.
The masks are just no longer Tom Cruise and old man makeup, yes.
Yeah, most of them were Tom Cruise masks, I think. So there was when we thought it was Tom Cruise, but it was Ambrose again when she was escaping.
That was a great twist.
Yes,
Love
so
that.
That's 2.
Mm-hmm.
There was 5, you say?
Mm-hmm. In that same sequence, there's something
Tom
else going
Cruise
on.
Had 1.
It was, do you want me to help or no?
Yeah, go ahead. Help me out here. I can't remember.
Well, they have the Rade Sherbeggia mask in the hospital, right?
There you go. Yeah, Tom Cruise is wearing that. Ethan's wearing his mask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the movie, there's a Tom Cruise mask on the dude from Moulin Rouge, and there's a Moulin Rouge mask on the dude from Eyes Wide Shut. So, yeah.
Perfect. The dude from Moulin Rouge. That's what I know him from best as
4
well.
of the 5 masks were Tom Cruise masks?
3 of the 5.
3 of the 5 masks were Tom Cruise masks.
Everybody wants to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I do. He's dreamy.
He's cool. He makes good movies.
So our final question here, everybody, is at this point, is the franchise fatigued? We're franchise fatigued here. Our job is to figure out when a franchise gets fatigued. I will say it's not fatigued yet. I think every movie series gets a mulligan. Right, I know you loved it, Mike, but I'm saying the general consensus is this is the least popular one. People kind of felt that way, so I'm just saying. So for me, you get 1 mulligan, and it's only the second one, so you have plenty of time to right the ship, get back on it. So I'm going to say it's not fatigued yet, because even though this wasn't everybody's personal taste, it was still an entertaining movie to check out.
Yeah, no, this franchise, spoilers, this franchise has not fatigued yet.
So for me, this definitely has fatigued the franchise for me. At this point, right? Like, I gave up on it at this point.
Well, you should just stop watching the movies, so I guess.
I did. I totally did stop watching the movies. This made me stop watching this franchise, and this movie made me roll my eyes every time. So even bringing this up to my 2.5 rating, this is still, I can't believe they made another one after this, which is kind of funny because you talked about, like, it made a lot of money, but people don't seem to like it when they talk about it. Like, Mike, you're the only person I know who really likes this movie. We do have a follower on Twitter, Rashid, and he really likes it as well, which is great. I'm glad that we have people who like these movies, so, and obviously it was popular enough because it made more money than the first one, so,
I will say at the time, I remember a lot of people not liking it. Then again, I remember a lot of people not liking the first one either. But I do have one friend who, he's the type of person who would absolutely hate this movie. And for some reason, I don't know what it was with him and his friends, something started. And I'm like, did you see Mission Impossible 2? And he's like, yes, it's the greatest movie ever made. And I'm like, oh, so you didn't like it? And he's like, what are you talking about? It's the greatest movie ever made. And he bought the DVD and everything, which makes me think that at the very least he liked it, even if he just liked it to make fun of it. But to this day, if I ask him what his opinion of this movie is, he will say, it's the greatest movie ever made. So maybe that's another person who liked it. I'm not really sure.
That's funny. We can't take his word for it. Mike, where can people find you online?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K, or you can also find me on filmdamagepod.com, where I do a show called Film Damage, which I know we've been lacking for the past few months now because we've been doing some other stuff. But if it's not up already, very, very shortly you will find, at the very least, a commentary for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. So check that out, either on iTunes or at filmdamagepod.com.
I'm just disappointed that you didn't accept my tweet poll for the Children of the Corn 4 commentary.
One day I'll watch that movie, I'm sure. But I haven't seen it yet. Sorry.
Zach, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter personally at MoronZach. That's MooreOnZach. I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always One of Smallville, where we talk about each and every episode of that Young Superman show. You can find us on Twitter at Always Smallville with one S. I'm also the host of Standard Orbit, Trek FM's original series podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Trek FM.
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me at Trek FM with a podcast called Melodic Treks, which I do once a month, and on Warp 5, which is kind of intermittent right now, but I'm doing what I can over there. And every 6 to 8 weeks or so, I'm doing a podcast called Breaking the Waves, which is all about electronic film scores over on the Cinematic Sound Radio Network. And I was able to participate in their Christmas episode, which just came out. And I played some music from the X-Files and Millennium. So something a little bit out of the ordinary. You can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network, as well as our own independent feed with a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast, where we go through all of Alfred Hitchcock's films, and we are quite a ways away from Notorious. We do that once a month with my friends Chris and Tom. And I guess that's all my podcasts. I think that's all of them. I think I hit them all up. You can find the network on Twitter at UFPEarth. You can send us an email, contact@ufp.earth. And I'd like to thank very much our executive producers, Ken Tripp and Tony Robinson, as well as Zach Tripp for his wonderful intro and exit music for our show. Well, that's it for this week. So join us again in 2 weeks as we cover Mission Impossible 3. Should you choose to accept that mission, this podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
And yeah, no, he's in number 5, right?
He's in 4 and 5.
No, he's not.
And then he dies in 5.
He dies. Yeah. He dies in 5. He's not in 4.
No, he's in 4.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Amy's following along, and she hasn't seen them all yet.
Okay, whatever one that he's in.
Alec Baldwin eventually takes that role as well. So.
Right, but whatever one Tom Wilkinson is in, it might have been 4. It was 4.
That's correct. And then he cameos 5. In 5.
He's not in 5.
He has a cameo in 5. Yeah.
He's in one scene in one movie, and that's it.
No, he's in 2 movies. They brought him back as an uncredited cameo. I'm so sure about this.
Okay, convenient that it's uncredited, but we'll see. We'll see about this. One of us is wrong, and his name is Zach. But
all right, we'll see. I'll go down with the ship.